And right now at 5 o'clock, dangerous sideshows taking over a sleepy Bay Area neighborhood.
Happened at our house. It smashed into our car, into our garage.
If a car loses it, it's going to run through at least 50 of those kids.
We'll talk to people in the Sunset District about whether a new effort to address the problem will actually make things better. And a high-stakes battle in a Bay Area courtroom, the California residents who could suddenly find themselves stripped of legal status.
My country was in crisis, and returning would not have been safe. Now, nearly 20 years later, this country is my home. Yes. Home.
And a California cafe owner is among the people killed in the mass shooting at a Reno resort.
One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, always very welcoming, always happy.
What investigators have revealed about how it all unfolded. Plus, we're going to hear from the Bay Area hospice workers who walked off the job today, why they say their patients' safety is on the line.
CBS News Bay Area Evening Edition with Ryan Yamamoto.
I'm Devin Feely in for Ryan today. It is a normally quiet neighborhood, but in recent months, San Francisco's Sunset District has become the scene of massive sideshows, and people living in that neighborhood have become increasingly desperate for help. Lauren Toms talked to them about why there may be some hope on the horizon.
The very first one woke us up, so it's kind of out of the dead of sleep.
Loud screeches and spinning tires jolted residents of this quiet Sunset District neighborhood awake. Pastor Abraham Lee lives and works nearby. He was startled as dozens gathered at the intersection of 42nd and Lawton for a late-night sideshow. The skid marks still scar the pavement.
These folks, they obviously knew what they were doing. They had all their license plates covered up with duct tape and other things so that even if a photo were taken of their cars, they wouldn't be able to easily identify them.
He's witnessed multiple sideshows just outside his door. This video from May is one of several incidents in recent months. Pastor Abe says it wasn't just the noise. It was seeing how young many of the participants were that made him reach out to District Supervisor Joel Engardio for help. And this week, help arrived in a humble form. 4 speed bumps installed at the troubled intersection.
These barriers allow for normal traffic flow. It's not going to affect the cars going through the intersection in a normal way. But if you're going to do donuts, your tires are going to hit that barrier and it's going to do some damage to your car.
The Sunset is just one of 6 districts in San Francisco where the city has installed sideshow deterrents in the form of bumps like these, posts, and centerline hardening measures that slow down left-turning traffic. Just feet from 42nd and Lawton, Leah owns an interior design shop. Not only was her building graffitied during one recent sideshow, her car was also damaged in another sideshow just blocks away.
Happened at our house. It smashed into our car, into our garage. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely is a possibility that I know of firsthand.
Sideshows in San Francisco peaked in 2021 with more than 70 documented incidents. Last year, that number dropped to at least 15, in part due to new laws that increase penalties for drivers and participants. Video from the May incident shows SFPD creeping in to disperse the sideshow.
Because the crowd of people was so large, it took a good 10 minutes for them to be able to clear out of that area.
Pastor Abe is hopeful the speed bumps will make a difference. He says the true danger isn't just the noise or damage. It's the lives at stake when the stunts go wrong.
If a car loses it, it's going to run through at least 50 of those kids before it gets to our house. That's a lot of bodies that it has to get through before it can actually touch us. And I'm more worried about the people that are going to get hurt in the process. So it might do something, and I hope it does. We're going to hold out hope.
Today, San Francisco Supervisor Mina Melker launched her own effort to improve safety. Her bill would commit the city to relaunching its Vision Zero program back in 2014. City leaders set an ambitious goal. They wanted to reduce traffic deaths to 0 by 2024 last year. Instead, last year was the deadliest year on San Francisco streets in the past 2 decades. Today, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie signed a bill aimed at clearing RVs from city streets. That law limits the amount of time that oversized vehicles can park on city streets to just 2 hours. That obviously makes it impossible to park in one spot overnight. The policy is expected to impact about 400 RVs in the city. Those RVs are a shelter of last resort for people who might otherwise just end up living on the street. Mayor Lurie, however, says that his plan is to connect those people and families with more stable housing.
The parents living in vehicles deserve real options for raising their kids in safety and dignity. And the parents trying to walk down the street with their family deserve sidewalks that are clean, safe, and accessible.
Just last week, the Coalition on Homelessness held a silent protest through City Hall. They say the RV ban strips vulnerable communities of their only housing. We heard from an unhoused woman who's worried about the impact on families like hers.
It makes me feel very sad and worried about my children's future because they've been through a lot. You have to change everything, your whole life, just being houseless.
There are some exemptions built into the ban that allow registered RVs to remain parked if they are engaged with city services. People in Richmond may have noticed flaring at the Chevron refinery this afternoon. Chevron says this was mistakenly reported as a level 2 incident. A health advisory was sent out for the areas highlighted on the map that you see there, but we're told it's actually a less serious level 1 incident, and Chevron says there should be no impact on the community. As the Trump administration ramps up its crackdown on immigrants, it is now going after those who hold temporary protective status, or TPS. A deadline has been set for immigrants from Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua to lose their legal status. And today, people rallied outside of the federal courthouse in San Francisco as arguments were heard in a lawsuit that is challenging that decision. John Ramos was there.
When the deportations began, we were told they were going to focus on the criminal element. Then the quotas kicked in, and the argument changed to anyone here illegally is a criminal. Now, even migrants that the government says are here legally are being targeted for removal. Perhaps it is a symbol of how happy they are to be in this country that the Latin immigrants began their protest with a dance party.
They have built their lives here. Some have bought homes, raised children, pursued their educations and their dreams.
But the issue was deadly serious. Holders of TPS status come from 17 countries that the U.S. government has decreed to be too dangerous, either from repressive governments or natural disasters. Cindy Alama fled her native land of Nepal following a devastating earthquake in 2015.
I was deeply grateful my country was in crisis, and returning would not have been safe. TPS allowed me to work, support my family, and live here without fear. Now, nearly 20 years later, this country is my home. Yes. Home.
But on August 5th, her legal status will be revoked, with the same happening to people from Nicaragua and Honduras the following month. TPS was created in 1990 when the U.S. got involved in a civil war in El Salvador and needed a way to protect refugees from the conflict. Now, those here under that protection face an uncertain future.
The government has broken its promise, violated the law. So these brave individuals are here today in federal court to say that the law still means something. And President Trump and DHS Secretary Noem are not above the law.
Stepping forward is not without risk, but Johnny Silva, who moved from Honduras as a toddler, says it's also a matter of conscience.
I joined this lawsuit because I feel it in my heart that I have to speak up for people and for others like me. The government's decision to terminate TPS for Hondurans and others, many other countries, doesn't just hurt TPS holders, it hurts our families, our friends, and our communities.
This was the lawsuit's first hearing before a federal judge. President Trump tried to end TPS in his first term, but it was held up in the courts.
TPS was essential in the early 90s and continues to be, was essential when the hurricanes took place and continues to be essential now, and we have to protect it.
The Department of Homeland Security is arguing that there is no more threat in those designated countries. But those who have spent decades living as Americans say they deserve a chance for permanent residency.
There are approximately 60,000 TPS holders in the United States. The Department of Homeland Security has ordered that immigrants from Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua be stripped of their legal status and work authorization in 60 days. It was an emotional day for friends and family of a parole agent who was shot and killed inside the Oakland office where he worked. A procession in honor of Joshua Byrd wound its way through the streets of Rockland and Roseville today that was followed by a funeral service in Rockland. Byrd was shot and killed earlier this month when a man on parole allegedly walked into the office on Edgewater Drive and shot him. Police say that Byrd was not the man's parole officer. Byrd was 40 years old. He was a husband and a father of 3. Investigators in New York City are piecing together the motive of the gunman who killed 4 people in a shooting rampage in a Manhattan office building. They now believe that he was targeting the NFL. One of the victims was an off-duty police officer working security at that building. And this afternoon, people lined the streets as his body was transferred to a mosque. Jared Hill has the latest on the victims and the investigation.
Investigators now believe the gunman who killed 4 people at a Manhattan office building was targeting the headquarters of the National Football League.
He did have a note on him. The note alluded to that he felt he had CTE, a known brain injury for those who participate in contact sports.
Police identified the shooter as 27-year-old Shane Tamira. He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. They believe he drove from his home in Las Vegas and walked into the Midtown building with the high-powered rifle in full sight.
So all of a sudden, see a guy walking with an M4. Nobody on Park Avenue said anything. Everybody, I'm literally watching the man walk up to the building stairs.
You can still see shattered windows from the gunfire. The gunman walked into the lobby of the building and immediately shot and killed the off-duty uniformed NYPD officer who was working building security. Police officer Didaral Islam was a 36-year-old immigrant from Bangladesh. He had 2 children and a pregnant wife. Unarmed security guard Alan Detienne and real estate executive Wesley LePatner were also killed before the shooter headed to the 33rd floor and killed the final victim. But the mayor says that wasn't where he was planning to go.
From our preliminary investigation, he took the wrong elevator bank up to the NFL headquarters.
The NFL commissioner said an employee was seriously injured in the attack, and the rampage drew condolences from the New York Jets.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families. It's always tough to hear things like that.
Tamira's online profile says he played high school football. Police say his note accused the NFL of knowingly concealing danger to the brain and asked that his own be studied.
The New York City Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that its autopsy on the suspect will include an examination of his brain. We're also learning more about the victims of the mass shooting at Reno's largest casino yesterday. 3 people were killed. 3 others were injured as a gunman opened fire outside of the Grand Sierra Resort early yesterday morning. 2 people are still in the hospital in critical condition. A 3rd was released yesterday. The gunman was taken into custody and transported to the hospital. Authorities have identified one of the people who was killed. Andrew Canepa was a father and a co-owner of the Side Street Cafe in Newbury Park, California. His friend spoke about his role in the community.
I'm just in shock. I was so surprised to hear what happened to him today. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, always very welcoming, always happy, very welcoming to the community, very supportive.
Police say a motive hasn't been determined just yet and that there is no known connection between the suspect and the victims at this time. Barry Hospice workers walked off the job for a 1-day strike today in Pleasant Hill. The Hospice East Bay workers say that it's their last chance to improve working conditions before the nonprofit is taken over by a national hospice chain based in Florida. Nurses, social workers, and counselors are seeking a new union contract, but they say negotiations have led to only minimal pay increases and staff protections. Nurses also say that there has been a 50% increase in patient workload, which they say doesn't allow for proper care.
Healthcare worker working conditions and patient care conditions are intertwined. We need to keep our staff, and in order to do that, we need consistent respect that would be enshrined in a union contract.
Hospice East Bay released a statement saying in part that we remain committed to meeting these challenges in a way that honors our mission, strengthens our team, and continues our commitment to the care, safety, and dignity of our patients. And turning now to the weather and a live look outside right now. Parts of the Bay Area seeing the warmest day in several weeks. And First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz is here with all of the details.
Yes, finally back to normal for this time of year.
So does warmer mean less fog?
Sometimes. Normally it does, because normally the warmer weather means drier weather, but that is not necessarily the case tonight. You saw that video or that picture from the top, I think, of Mark Hopkins maybe, but it showed a lot more fog than there was yesterday as a storm system is making its way overhead, and it's actually going to be cooling us down into tomorrow. So I hope you all enjoyed the warmer weather today. Temperatures right now definitely feeling the heat up farther inland. Those high temperatures were in the 90s. Now they're in the upper 80s to low 90s, but still, it is definitely warmer than we've been feeling for the past several weeks, even sitting in the mid to upper 70s for areas by the Bay and 80s across our North Bay communities. Low 60s still directly along the coast. It's really all location dependent, but we're definitely seeing more cloud coverage right now than we did yesterday. Yesterday, it was completely filled with sunshine all across the Bay. Today, there is still that marine layer that's holding on tight, especially to our coastal communities along the peninsula. And that is going to be a continuous factor overnight tonight and into early tomorrow, as there is going to be quite a lot of changes on the way over the next 12 hours. Again, you can already see some of those changes just by looking at the increased cloud coverage out there compared to yesterday at this time. And there is going to be even more cloud coverage overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind. You're likely going to have to give yourself an extra couple of minutes if you live along our peninsula, coastal communities, because visibility is going to be a bit of an issue, filtering into our inland East Bay communities as well, at least in the low valleys. And we're likely going to be seeing that fog sticking around along the peninsula basically all day tomorrow. And the fog is going to be a lot lower in the atmosphere. It's going to be a lot thicker, and it's going to be a lot denser. So it's going to be very similar to what we felt last week when we saw 5 days of measurable rainfall. It didn't measure a whole lot, 0.08 inches, but hey, we'll take what we can get. And the fact that we saw 5 days with measurable rain, that makes us tied with 2022 for the most rainy days ever recorded in the month of July. And if we see rain early tomorrow morning, which there is a good potential that we pick up an additional 1/100 of an inch, we will have this July 2025 being having our most rainy days ever recorded in the month of July. Pretty interesting. And it's all because of that storm system that is going to continue to move overhead. That's really good news for those of us that have been wanting to kind of push away wildfire season. Moisture is always good news for that. We'll take whatever we can get, and it comes along with those cooler temperatures. Tomorrow afternoon's high temperatures are going to be sitting in the mid to lower 80s to upper 70s. Very similar again to what we felt last week, about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than today, and about 10 to 15 degrees below normal for this time of year. Still sitting in the low 60s directly along the coast. Coastal communities not seeing too many of those temperature changes, but you are going to be seeing a lot thicker fog and cloud coverage. That's going to persist through tomorrow as well. So again, we are going to continue to see quite a lot of changes over the next 24 hours, but honestly, it's not going to be anything super big. It's just a little bit of a cool down. High pressure will return by the time that we step out later this week and into next week. And look at our long range models. August 6th to August 12th, the first full week of the month of August, we are likely going to be seeing above average temperatures returning to the forecast, which again, for those of you who have been missing the summer-like heat, get ready for more widespread 90s, returning with a lot more sunshine by as soon as early next week. Again, it is not going to be extreme heat, so that's good news. No extreme heat is always a positive. It's just going to be back to slightly above average, slightly warmer, mid to upper 70s for areas by the Bay, and our coastal communities are finally going to be seeing more sunshine as well. So if you live along the coast, enjoy those low 60s, foggier conditions at least through the end of the week before more sunshine and potentially low 70s return by next week. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Zoe. Heads up about some more road closures at San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. Today, a stretch of JFK Drive shut down from 36th Avenue to Traverse Drive. It comes as the park prepares to welcome tens of thousands to a series of concerts over the coming weeks. It all starts with a 3-day Dead & Company concert this weekend, followed by Outside Lands Music Festival the following week, and then Zach Bryan on August 15th. All of the closed roads are scheduled to reopen on August 20th. We're going to be right back right after this.